Now reporting, George Stephanopoulos.
Good afternoon. We're coming back on the air because President Trump is about to address this series of explosive devices and suspicious packages sent to public figures, prominent public officials, including former Presidents Clinton and Obama over the last several days. You see the list there of public officials who've received these suspicious packages. It includes George Soros, the billionaire philanthropist, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, the former Attorney General Eric Holder, former chair of the Democratic National Committee Debbie Wasserman Schultz, all who have been verbal targets or vocal critics of President Trump. The White House has already called these acts despicable. Vice President Pence has spoken out against the actions the FBI Secret Service investigating. The president has received a briefing from his national security team on the incidents. Let's listen in.
To talk about today's news and the attempted attacks on President Clinton, President Obama, their families, public officials, individuals, and organizations. We cannot tolerate those cowardly attacks, and I strongly condemn all who choose violence. I'm grateful to the Secret Service, as well as the local and federal law enforcement, for all they do on a daily basis to keep us safe and encourage people across the country to choose kindness over hatred. I want to welcome you all to the White House to reflect on the progress this administration has made in tackling the opioid crisis, and more importantly, to look ahead at the work still to be done. We are here to talk about the continued actions we are taking to combat the opioid epidemic, which my husband will talk about in a few minutes. I must say I'm proud of our president and the work being done in the White House and across so many agencies to help those affected by drug abuse and addiction. Just last week, I visited Thomas Jefferson University Hospital to learn about their maternal addiction treatment, education, and research program called Matter. This program supports families and babies born with neonatal absence syndrome by providing mothers with the tools they need to help become successful parents. My campaign, Be Best, is committed to helping children and the many issues they face as they grow up. And sadly, drug abuse is one of those issues. Be Best will continue to shine a light on successful programs like Matter that demonstrate positive results for children. Over the past year, I have traveled both nationally and internationally, learning about many of the programs offered through private organizations, schools, and hospitals, which are meant to help children and families as they deal with drug addiction. What I constantly hear is the need for support at all levels. Law enforcement needs our support and the resources necessary to stop criminals from putting drugs on the streets. Families need the resources to get treatment and follow-up care for loved ones. Those who are addicted need the support, resources, and guidance to know they are fighting a disease and should not be ashamed. Young mothers need the support necessary to not only beat their addiction, but get the tools needed to become successful parents. Babies born addicted need the resources for treatment, but also need follow-up care for years to come. I was honored to be part of a roundtable comprised of several experts at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital that was convened to help with the design and implementation of a new initiative the Department of Health and Human Services is working on to measure the long-term health outcomes and needs of infants suffering from neonatal absence syndrome. As a nation, we must come together to fight this epidemic by providing as many resources as possible. And I know that as long as my husband is in office, this will remain a priority. Fighting opioid abuse goes across all party lines. Thank you all for being here. and being part of the fight to end this epidemic. It is now my honor to introduce the President of the United States.
I want to thank you very much, Melania. I know how hard you've worked on this. And that's just one of many languages that you know. So it's just amazing the way you can do it. Thank you very much, darling. Appreciate it. Also, I want to thank Mrs. Pence for being here. You have been just so terrific working alongside of our great Vice President. And thank you very much, Karen. Really appreciate it. I'd like to begin today's remarks by providing an update on the suspicious packages and devices mailed to current and former high-ranking government officials. The safety of the American people is my highest and absolute priority. I have just concluded a briefing with the FBI, Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, and the U.S. Secret Service. As we speak, the packages are being inspected by top explosive experts, and a major federal investigation is now underway. The full weight of our government is being deployed to conduct this investigation and bring those responsible for these despicable acts to justice. We will spare no resources or expense in this effort. And I just want to tell you that in these times, we have to unify. We have to come together and send one very clear, strong, unmistakable message that acts or threats of political violence of any kind have no place in the United States of America. Thank you very much. It's a very bipartisan statement. I can tell you from both sides, we both agree on that. This egregious conduct is abhorrent to everything we hold dear and sacred as Americans. My administration will provide additional updates as they become available. And I just want to thank everybody for their understanding. We're extremely angry, upset, unhappy about what we witnessed this morning, and we will get to the bottom of it. We're gathered together today to address
condemning what he calls despicable acts, the targeting of several prominent officials, including former Presidents Obama and Clinton, with explosive devices, suspicious packages sent to a series of officials over the last 24 hours, including the former presidents, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, the former Attorney General Eric Holder. As the president said, he's got the full weight of the government behind this now investigating. I want to bring in our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, for more on this. Pierre, we know that at least three of the devices, also the one sent to CNN, along with the ones to the former presidents, live explosives.
George, this is why all these officials are taking this so seriously, and I think that's why you heard such a strong statement by the president. We don't know how viable these devices were, but I can tell you this, they contain explosive material. That from the NYPD and the DC police chief who just spoke a few moments ago. So whatever this is, this person or these people who are sending out these packages have access to explosive materials and is being treated extremely seriously, George.
Extremely seriously. Do they assume that more are in the pipeline?
Well, my sources that I spoke to earlier today were concerned, even when we just learned about the Clinton package and also the package to President Obama, that more could be in the pipeline, and that proved to be prophetic. Law enforcement officials say today and over the next 24 hours they will continue to look for potential packages coming into elected officials and others throughout the country, George.
Okay, let me bring in our senior White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega, as well for more on this. The president goes on to say that threats of political violence have no place in the United States. A subdued president, he called himself angry, quite different from what we've seen on the stump.
Exactly. He's saying now we have to unify and come together. But, George, the common thread here, and we have to say we have no idea what the motive is. We have no idea who the suspects is or are. But the targets are all, the common thread here is that these people are all frequent targets of or critics of the president. And, frankly, also of very conservative political attacks. Maxine Waters is someone that the president repeatedly calls low IQ. CNN, just at his rally on Monday night, became the point of a chant that the whole arena stopped and shouted anti-CNN slurs. So certainly this is giving pause to journalists and public officials here in this city, likely all around the country. And we will keep our eyes on President Trump tonight as he heads to Wisconsin for another political rally to see whether he tamps down this tone in the middle of this very heated, at the peak, George, of this heated midterm race.
For now, the president determined, thank you, Celia, the president determined to get to the bottom of this. He says the full weight of the government is now being deployed to find out who is behind these potential attacks. We're going to stay on top of it all day. You can follow us all day long on abcnews.com, and there'll be a full report tonight on World News Tonight with David Muir. Have a good afternoon.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
At SaveOnSimpleCourt.com.